What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cracka. Sorry if I look and sound like crap. I'm fighting off a cold, I think. I really totally feel like crap. But, what can you do? My immune system, my mutant healing ability isn't what it used to be. It's starting to fail me as I get older. Whatever. Um, a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of stuff to talk about, so this might be a really long episode. But there's just so much things to do, so. Um, I even wrote it all down. But I'm gonna get into a review. Finally got a chance to read this one thing, so I'm gonna go over that. But before I do, I'm glad everyone is enjoying the shout out video that I made. That was its purpose. I really did mean everything I said in there. That I really appreciate everybody for subscribing and watching my stuff. That's the least I can do is make a video about it. And I want to thank some new subscribers. I'm up to 161 now, which is pretty cool. Hope I'm going to get these names right. They're not that bad. Hard to pronounce, like some of the ones I've had. Jace, Headcase, THX138, thanks for subscribing. Ravage X9, thanks for subscribing. The Three Lego Bros, thanks for subscribing. And Sergeant Rock Collection, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. Like I said, I do have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to try to get through this. But first, I'm going to do a review on something I'm very impressed with. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. And now I have to kind of take back what I said before. And that is the Green Lantern, The Wrath of the First Lantern. I got the first 3 issues, which I'm going to go over. And I was amazed. Like this storyline I'm actually really liking a lot. And it's funny because like I was trying to drop Green Lantern. I'm like, let's get the first issue or something like that. No big deal. But now I had to order the Red Lantern one in the next issue because I thought it was really cool. And I told my fiance, I'm like, I can't drop Lantern yet. She's like, why not? You said you were done with that. I'm like, that's just really good. She's like, all right, yeah. But first one is Green Lantern number 17, which I took out of the bag because I wanted to show some stuff, which is very interesting. This is part 1. This is really cool. It's a lot of reading, but basically the gist of this whole thing is it's kind of like the aftermath of the whole Third Army stuff. But this first Lantern guy, they say it better in like the later issue, but he's basically, Kyle Rayner said, he's an emotional vampire. He basically drains your emotional energy. Like rather than, if you look at the Lanterns, they're like all over the universe, everyone's emotions powers their certain power battery. This guy, and rather than go to the battery, he takes it from you. Rather than, you get the idea. But in this thing, they show the Guardians, but not as small little blue elves, but actual, like tall, regular human people. And I'm going to show you, but they have this thing in here where I guess it's the beginning of the universe, and the creator, or God, whatever your belief is, I guess, is actually making the universe. You see these 2 giant hands like creating this stuff, and Ganthet's there, and this one guy, I guess a Guardian, is watching, and Ganthet's like, the whole thing is like you can't watch God create the universe. He's like, it's against the whole thing. Like you just can't do it. And this guy's just kind of like, what a bunch of BS. He's like, I've been watching this for the past couple seconds, whatever it is, and nothing's happened. And if you look at it, you can see there's the giant hands creating, and there's Ganthet, normal sized dude. And the interesting thing is, like Ganthet's like, you gotta, close the shutter or whatever it is. He's like, if you watch, bad things are gonna happen. And the funny thing is, the hand, you can kind of see it has a Green Lantern ring on it. And Ganthet's like, he's like, the creator's hand has a ring, and all of a sudden everything blows up. And this guy, Vathum, looks like he's from a reject from like a 60s space kind of thing up there. He kind of shows up, and I guess you kind of think he might be the first Lantern. I'm not really sure because they don't really get into it yet. But the guy's kind of cool looking. He's like see-through, but he's got like different like emotional areas like on his body. And what he does is when he gets a hold of you, he shows you your life basically, almost like you're about to die, like your life flashed before your eyes. And he shows you everything you've ever done. And what he does is he sucks the emotion out of you while you're looking at these images. then he's a sneaky bastard. Like when he gets enough as he can from the certain things, he changes the reality to see what kind of emotion you're going to throw. And what's cool is they show a splash page when he shows Ganthet's entire life, every choice he's ever made, and then he turns around. Um, when he's like I said, he's done sucking the energy from you. He tries to alter reality. Like in this thing, they have the Black Hand obviously dead, and he's going after Baz because he's trying to find out Jordan. But when he shifts reality, Black Hand is normal, and Baz turns into Abin Sur, and then he switches back because when he's trying to change the reality, he doesn't. He's still weak from, I guess, finally being woken up and not having enough energy. So his reality changing powers, I guess, aren't strong enough to keep it solid. And he kind of flips out. He's like, what have you done to me? He's like, I don't have enough power to make my realities, stick. And so he's like, well, thanks to you Guardians and being, the people that you are, and mistrusting, and all your choices are, stupid, and like all this thing. He's like, I now have all these entire cores. He's like, I can drain off of. And basically he just starts going after each lantern. And that goes into part 2, which is Green Lantern Corps number 17, where he goes after Guy Gardner. And it really is interesting because they show, like I said, this guy's kind of like an emotional vampire, but he's also kind of like the Watcher from Marvel. Like he sees everything and shows like possible realities and all these things. With Gardner, he shows a thing of his life where him and his sister are on, they're playing hockey with their brother on ice, and it winds up breaking, and Guy and his sister fall into the ice, and his brother immediately throws the hockey stick and grabs him, pulls him out of the water. And he's, like I said, after he gets Guy Gardner, Gardner's like, what are you doing to me? He's like, I don't want, he's like, oh, relax. He's like, no. He's like, now what if we switch this, and it's you that have to pull your brother and sister out of the ice rather than your brother? And they show it, and Guy Gardner kind of flinches for a second and doesn't help his brother and sister, and they wind up going under the ice and dying. And his father, you let them die, whole big thing. And Gardner's like, that's not what happened. He's like, he's like, I can make that happen the way I showed you, if I want. And he's like, but you know what? He's like, let's keep on cruising, and let's see what else we can do. And they show a part where Gardner's a cop, and this guy's got a bomb strapped to his chest, and he's heading for like this plane. And the second the guy goes to close the door on the plane, Gardner's like, I have no choice, and he shoots the bomb and blows the plane up. Then they show an alternate thing where he misses the shot, and it winds up blowing the entire airport up. So it's like, it's strange. He's like, that's not what happened. He's like, I told you. He's like, don't mess with me. He's like, I can make all these things, all your nightmares come true, and like all these different realities. And it was cool, which brings me into another one of my. It's actually a really cool cover. Green Lantern New Guardians number 17, where he goes after Kyle Rayner, and that's like kind of biting off more than you could chew in a way, because now Kyle is a White Lantern, and the first Lantern's kind of like, he's like, you're kind of like me. He's like, you mastered all the emotions. He's like, otherwise you wouldn't be able to become a White Lantern, and he's like, let's see how powerful you are. And Kyle shoots like a blast at him, and he kind of just like stops it in his tracks. And he's like, come on. He's like, you can't hurt me with that. And he's like laughing at him. And he winds up grabbing him, and he's like, let's take a look at your life. And he shows this thing where they're in the apartment. And his girlfriend Alex was crushed and mangled and put in his refrigerator. And he's like, here's the part where, your girlfriend was killed. And he's like, it really is your fault. He's like, had you been there, this wouldn't have happened. He's like, but you know what? He's like, let's take a look and see what happens. And he changes the reality where his girlfriend's alive, and Kyle's like, oh my god, he's like, he did it, he changed the whole thing. And he's kind of like telling her, he's explaining, he's like, listen, you got to listen to me. He's like, I don't have time to tell you everything. He's like, but just know that, I'm going to change things and all this stuff. And it kind of reminded me of, if you ever watched the Crow Stairway to Heaven TV show, where Eric Draven gets to a point where he's just kind of like fed up. And they have like the Skull Cowboy kind of character, and he's like, I could have totally changed everything if I, knew then what I know now. And the guy's kind of like, he's like, you just don't get it. He's like, it doesn't, matter. He's like, but we'll give you a shot. He's like, we'll change it. You can change however way you want to do it. You can do whatever you want and see if you can change it. Good luck. And like with Eric Draven, like he tries to change everything where he saves Shelley, and winds up not just because of what he knows, but he winds up getting other people killed. Like every reality, every time he gets another chance at it, it gets worse. So it's kind of the same point. Like it's like no matter what you do, things happen the way they happen. Like there's just nothing you can really do about it, no matter how much you try to change. And the White Lantern shows up and he's like, all right, he's like, enough of this or whatever. He's like, I've drained enough of that emotion. Let me put you in another thing. And it shows where Kyle was raised by his father rather than his mother, and he becomes a mechanic and like all this stuff. And Kyle figures out what the guy's doing. He's like, all right, he's like, I know what you're doing. He's like, this is ridiculous. He's like, I'm not, a mechanic. I'm not this. He's like, you're trying to get me to give you an emotional response. It's not going to happen. And the White Lantern's kind of like, he's like, so he's like, you might be my equal. He's like, let's see, what else you got. And he starts like throwing them all through these different reality things. And they get to one where Hal Jordan was killed, and Guy Gardner like blames Kyle Rayner and comes after him and starts kicking his ass. And Kyle's like, all right, enough of this. He's like, I know what you're doing. He's like, I told you. He's like, I'm done with this. And the White Lantern kind of comes up from behind Kyle and like nails him from the back of the head. And he's like, all right. He's like, I see how it is. He's like, I'm gonna do something for you that I've never done for anybody. He's like, I'm gonna let you choose what reality, what choice you want. And he's kind of like, I want whatever reality that Alex is alive, his girlfriend. And he looks at him, and he's like, of all the things I can give you, he's like, that's what you choose. He's like, you know what, never mind. And he's just like, Kyle just like flips out. He's like, well, what? He's like, you said anything. He's like, I changed my mind. And just trying to get him like a rise out of him. So, but it was cool. It really is a cool, interesting storyline. And like I said, now I have to get the other ones because I'm really enjoying it. But pick them up. They're worth it, especially if you're a Green Lantern fan. It's pretty cool. I'm actually, like I said, I really like this first Lantern guy. He's pretty interesting. Moving on. I didn't read all this yet. I'm about halfway through, but Amazing Spider-Man 600 definitely looks better with a new bag. This is, I think it might even be bigger than 700, like page-wise. There's just a lot in here. But if you don't have this one, you're a Spider-Man fan, pick it up, man. It's awesome. It's all about Doc Ock, and well, from what I read so far, I'll do a better review later on. I just haven't had a chance to really get through it. But cool book. And another quick thing, which I've shown them before, but they do look a hell of a lot better in new bags. G.I. Joe #1. Didn't read it yet. Ghost Rider #6. It's just amazing how much a difference a bag can do. Like, they look a lot more colorful. They don't look like hell. Ghost Rider #10. Of course, #15. Second printing. #17. I was amazed, like when I took them out of the bag, I'm like, wow, they are better looking than I thought. #25. 29. 40. This one is an awesome book. It's like this, I can't really describe it to give it justice. It's like this really weird feeling cover. Almost looks like the Necronomicon. And #50. Just another awesome cover. But it really is true. The bag makes a difference. But anyway, moving on to some interesting things. I saw Arrow yesterday. Awesome episode. I'm really loving it. There's kind of like pros and cons. I was thinking about it. One of the pros of Arrow is like it's like no nonsense, and they get to the whole like thing quicker. Like, it's supposed to be a spinoff from Smallville, but when you look at Smallville, as much as I love Smallville, I thought Smallville was an awesome series. Smallville kind of almost dragged out an episode. Like, they would drag it out to like the last possible like second, and then like throw like, oh, this is what happens. Green Arrow, like everything happens this. You're like, oh my god, So that's definitely a pro in there. It's just no nonsense. You just get to the whole thing and just have an awesome episode. The one con I have is that he's like killing like so many people off, or trying to kill people off. It's like, Arrow doesn't really kill, but hey, slight difference, I guess, but still cool. Moving on. Let's see here. What do I have down here? Yes. My my famous video now of my me on the road. I wanted to discuss a little bit. Some people kind of got it wrong, but most people got it right. Uh, Basically, the Batman Incorporated number 8 I have ordered from Midtown a couple weeks ago, which I didn't know anything about. I just ordered it because it was I was reading the thing and it was saying it's like the whole like conclusion of this and conclusion of that, and I'm like, yeah, what the hell? I was like, I get it. I didn't even know about the whole Robin situation. I was like, all right, cool. So I'd order it. Hopefully Midtown will send it to me because Midtown, their track record. But anyway, I was looking for that book for my friend Tony because he couldn't get to the comic book store. He's like, dude, can you see if you can get it? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I was like, I'm gonna take a look. But now you see what I'm talking about with like the comic book stores I go to, all the ones that are around here. That was pretty much every single one within my area, and not one store had an extra. Like there was nothing, and you saw like I waited in front of a mock time from before they opened, and I walked in the second the shutter came up. I walked in and they had no Batman Inc. number 8. And it's just like Hippie had mentioned, he's like, it's kind of funny how you walk into a store and they just open, they don't have any of the books. And I'm like, that's the way these stores work now. It's kind of sad because my friend Tony, we were talking about it. He's like, in the old days, date ourselves, but in the old days, you walk into a comic store, not even, you can even do it before the internet because that's usually when it, was the old days, I guess. You go into a comic book store and there were the comics. You walked in, once they were sold out, they would get some back in here and there, or they would reorder them or whatever it is. And you'd walk in, you get your comics, you walk out. Hang out, do whatever you're gonna do. You know how it is. But nowadays it's all pre-order crap. Like now you got to be really like vigilant, I guess, on your stuff. Like you got to really watch what's coming out, especially on a book that you want. Because if you don't get it the second it pops up on somebody's website, you're not going to get it. Well, at least in my area. I know I've been reading a lot of the comments with people saying that, certain stores, they walk in and they have plenty of them, So I guess maybe it's just my area, how greedy New York can be. But like I said, you saw, I was at a mock time, nothing. I walked in, I'm like, you have any? I know we don't have any. There's nothing on the rack. And like I was saying, nowadays if you don't pre-order something, especially like in my area, you're not getting it. It's just not happening. Because now, comic book stores, like I mentioned in previous videos, and talking about it now, is some of the stores I go to. What they'll do is they'll order a certain amount from people, like obviously on their websites, ordering stuff like I want like I said, let's use Batman Inc. number 8. I want one, and even when they limit it, they limit to one per person. Even that you can get around, but they would get like their orders in, so on and so forth. And what the stores will do is they'll order a couple extras and throw them up on eBay, because like, hey, this is gonna be a hot title, might as well pull a few and we'll sell it for triple the price on eBay. Which if you go on eBay now, Batman Inc. like the most I saw it for was like $60 something already, and I was like, "This is some of actually no, I saw one for $100, but I was amazed. I was like, "Oh my god," But moving on, losing my whole train of thought, being sick, and my whole head's like messed up. But yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. Every store I went to, not one person had it. Oh, they're like, "Oh, come back. Next week we'll have a second." We might have some, but I doubt it. You have to wait for the second printing, which is, I feel my friend Tony's pain because I went through that whole thing with Catwoman number 13. Nobody had it, and it just pissed me off to no end. That it was just like, how do you have a comic book store and not have copies to sell on the shelves? It's like, I don't understand why. I mean, all right, I get it because everyone blames the economy, but it really boils down to how much money they're going to try to get and milk off of this. Certain comics is that stores, it's just amazing that like certain issues, like say like Batman Inc., you would think you'd want to order more for people to buy them rather than, oh, I just got this many, that's it, we're done. It's like, really? But the other thing is, which I find funny, which I guess there's nothing really wrong to it, but it kind of pisses me off a little bit, is nowadays you also have people who don't appreciate the comics at all. They're just buying it to make the profit. You know, you got people who don't even read the comics. They don't give a rat's ass. They just find out, on the news they were blasting Batman Inc. It's the death of Robin. Damian Wayne's dying. All this stuff. And you get people that are like, oh my god, I have to get that. Like Superman, the death of Superman. People go nuts. Like, I have to get that issue to sell it. Just to sell it, I'll make a fortune. And some people did, which is, surprising. But it sucks because now for the people who actually do collect the comics, to collect them and read them and enjoy them, they don't get a shot at it because you get some asshole who's like, oh, I just want to go buy it and sell it on eBay for $50. That's just me. I just really do. It does piss me off that you can't go into a comic store around my area at least and go in there and get a comic you're looking for because they're already gone even when the store's open. It's like, we didn't get any extras. Unbelievable. Which brings me to eBay, which I have it's like a love-hate relationship to it. I like it. A lot of people say, you got to watch eBay because you want to kind of support your local businesses, which I do. I do I used to go to the comic stores all the time, but when you burn me like that, it's kind of like, what, up yours. I don't care anymore. I'm not saying the people in the comic store, like a lot of people that work in the comic stores that I go to, are really cool, so I got nothing against them. It's just the way that they do business. But same thing with eBay. Like I said, love hate. It's cool because you can find issues you can't find anywhere else in certain stores, and a lot of times you can get them cheap if you really look hard enough. You can get good deals, but sometimes it's just amazing what people put up there for price wise. You can always tell the person that obviously doesn't want to sell or is trying to make a huge profit off of something. Like I saw Amazing Spider-Man number 300. It was a 9.8 graded, which is pretty damn good. I have to give credit. That's an awesome score. And the guy wanted $13,000 for it. I was like, wow, 13 grand. Then they had a guy. It was Amazing Spider-Man 300, which was a 9.9, which is very hard to get. So I give them credit. But the guy wanted $67,000, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, wow, are you insane? Like, I don't know. But certain things, like some comics, I was on there. Like I said, I'm dropping a lot of issues in comics, and I'm trying to stop from getting back issues because I gotta really kind of watch my money. Like I said, it's tight, especially what I'm trying to do. But I did slip up a little bit. Like, my fiance's like, here's a couple, here's $50, and just get something because she's like, cheer you up. Because she's like, it looks like you lost your friend whenever I stop reading, getting comics. Excuse me. And drinking tea. You never see that. But yeah, I went on eBay and I was like, what the hell? I'll take a look, see if I can get some good issues for cheap. Which, like I said, if you look hard enough, you can find them. I did find a couple issues that I wound up winning, which I was impressed. I didn't think I was going to win it, which I will show whenever they show up. I'll do a video, obviously. So I'm not going to get into what I won, but again, like I said, it's like a love-hate thing. It's because I'm like, I got that book, and I think I paid a good price on it, so I'm kind of happy. But again, it's all about what you're willing to pay for comics. That's the way I see them now. Is comic books. You can look at price guides all you want, which they're basically nowadays it's just like a guideline. It's like this is what it's worth. It's supposed to be worth. And like this one book I had seen that it was in mint condition. I was looking at this price guide. In mint condition, it was worth $120. Now, the grading of what the guy had it for, it was probably maybe a 5.0, like mid grade. So you got to think, if in mint condition, if it's worth $120, if it's in half the condition of mint, you got to kind of like, all right, obviously they do tell you in the price guides, like this is how much it's worth in this condition, this is how much it's worth. But certain things on eBay, like you can get stuff where you look at something that's all right, mid grade, You're like, all right, mid condition is worth 120, mid grade is worth about $50, but then you wind up getting the book for like $8. You're like, wow, I did a good job. Stuff like that. Like I said, this is going to be a really weird uh, video, and my mind's going crazy, so you're gonna have to bear with me on some of these things. Um, but other times, like I said, where comic books are worth what you're willing to pay. Uh, Sometimes you can see people bidding on a book that's the exact same grade that you just got for $8, and they're bidding like $300-400. You're like, wow. But it's all up to you. I mean, it's all what you're willing to pay for a book. If you want to spend $400 on a book that's only worth $100, then yeah, go nuts. You want to piss your money away, um, which a lot of people in this community, and I've said it too. You really got to know what you're doing, and what you're looking for, because you can get ripped off real fast and real easy on eBay. Uh, so it is good to have a price guide, just for the sole fact of what you're getting, rather than like, oh, I just overpaid. The book's worth $100 in mint condition, and I got one that's a very good condition, and I paid $300 for it. Um, Same thing with Cougar Comics. He buys the graded stuff because he knows it's graded, and then he takes them out. But I see his point. You know what you're getting. Whereas certain people, you could look on eBay, like say something like this, and they say it's mint condition, and you take it out, you find they get it because you can't really always tell on photos. You get people, they take the different photos and stuff like that. You definitely, I think it was Rick and Dave that said it, uh, that you never go for a book that is a stock photo, because you never know what you're getting. At least with people that do multiple photos, you're kind of going like, all right, they're trying to show me what it looks like. Um, but a lot of times you'll get people like, I think it was Cougar Comics that had said it, is that you'll get people that they hide under the banner of, I'm not a professional grader. In my opinion, this is a mint condition book, and then you wind up getting it, and you find like all these folds across, the spine, and it's missing a page, and it's like, wow, way to screw me. But I don't know if there's really a point to that whole thing, but it sounded fun. I guess the point is, know what you're doing, know what you're looking for, and be aware of what you're willing to pay for a certain book. Me, like I said, I've won a few auctions, which I was kind of pissed at eBay because I've lost my mojo. I'm sitting there and like I'm bidding on these books, and I almost got wrapped up in the whole bidding war. Like I'm looking at this one book, and it's only worth like $50, and I put my max bid was like 25, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go any higher, even though I really want the book. I'm not going to go crazy, because you never know, down the line, you don't win a book here, a week later you can go on and get the book even cheaper than what you were willing to pay originally. So you're like, oh, you got to think of it that way too. If you don't win a book, it blows, it really does, or whatever you're trying to bid on. But think of it as a term, is that you weren't supposed to get that item, because you never know, down the line you'll get it cheaper. Think of it that way. But I was looking at this book, and I bid $25, and like within like the last, 30 seconds, it went up to like $75, and I'm like, oh, I got to bid again. I'm like, well, wait a minute, hang on, what am I doing? Why am I gonna, So I caught myself, so I was kind of happy. I'm like, all right, thank God. But I wound up, perfect example, I wound up going back on eBay looking for the same book, and I found one, it's the one I won, in better condition for cheaper. So I was like, cool, that's awesome. Another thing I want to talk about, besides the eBay stuff, is like my lights. I have a shipment of the Mylars coming to me, which I'm happy about. I found a place, which I'm not gonna mention yet, because I want to see how they do before I go and tell everybody where I got it from. That was extremely cheap. It's like a wholesale warehouse, I guess, kind of like eGerber. But I wound up getting 100 2 mil Mylars, 100 of them, so it's like 2 packages of 50 for it was $22, and it's free shipping. So that was pretty cool. I mean, they did have one where it was like 200 Mylars for, I think it was like $35, something like that. They had some weird prices, but I was like, you know what? I want to test them out, see how I like them. So I only got the 100, but I still think it's a really good deal. eGerber, I know it's like $45 to $50 for like 50 of them or something like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm getting one almost one of them for like one package of 50 for free, and the other one is like half price. So it's pretty cool. I'll see how they do. And one thing I wanted to also talk about with Manga Stomp Time 07, he had mentioned, he's like, you said that the comic store was selling them for 75 cents a piece, but it was like $75 for the box of 50. That doesn't make sense. Very true. Now, I was actually sent a comment on there, is that I was sitting there and I was trying to figure out myself. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, why is this? It'd be cheaper. I'm like, wait a minute. If it was $1 a book, it would be $50, plus tax for the thing or whatever it is. Now, the new owner, like I said in there, is kind of a bitch. And I said, I was like, this doesn't make any sense either. I was like, why would you sell? Because I was going to buy the whole, like a stack of 50. I'm like, what the hell with it? I'll get it. They're like, oh, well, she's like, I have to make a profit off of this because nobody sells them in stores. You have to special order them. So, obviously I have to make my money back and I have to make a profit. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a fucking stingy thing to do. But, so I didn't buy them. I was like, all right, well, have a nice day. And then she kind of gave me like an evil look, like I was being an asshole. I'm just like, all right, whatever. But that explains that. Yeah, that they're going to charge whatever they want to charge. Moving on. Hippies Collectibles. Been watching his stuff. Is got some amazing stuff. Meteorites, stuff from the Titanic. But also, I gotta say, I love the video too with your rant about the statue contest, which is true. It's very true. I know who you're talking about, and I'm not disgruntled about that stuff. But it is what it is. It's his contest. It's the way he wanted to do it. And it's his stuff. It really is. It's true. It's people tend to forget that you're doing this kind of out of the kindness of your own heart in a way, like to kind of give back in a way. You don't have to have contests on this thing. It's not like mandatory to be part of this group. You have to have a contest when you hit like a certain subscriber, or you have to, like, why not art? Like, you didn't have to draw, the community, which is awesome, by the way. So that's really cool. But he didn't have to do that stuff. He didn't have to give it away to people. He could have drew up the stuff and said, hey, this is what I did. It's really cool. I'm going to go put it on my wall. But he turned around and said, you know what? Everyone that I put on this page, I'm going to send you a free copy. Which is, it's the goodness of his heart. It's all, like Hero Hunter 81 has a contest. I'm having this contest because I just want to have it and give back. It's like, here you go. You won, you didn't win. It happens. You can't win everything. Mr. Ostentatious. I know what you're doing. I know what you've done. I know you sold your soul. It's alright. But, just kidding. Same thing with Hippies Collectibles. Like he was discussing. Like, even when he has contests, it's your stuff. You're doing what you want to do because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. And that does piss me off, too. I let a lot of things slide, but it's very true where it's, especially like I know because when I had my contest, I had so many problems with it where I was just like, oh my god. I was like, I didn't expect all this. Like, a lot of people, I think, they're very respectful. Like, they're like, oh my god, it's an awesome contest. I hope I win. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But you get a lot of other people that are like, oh, how can I better my chances? If you didn't give away, if this person doesn't win that, can I have it? It does get out of hand. It gets to the point where you're just like, if stuff continues like that, you're going to see less and less contests. You're going to see less and less giveaways because people just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the shit. And I agree. Like I said, all this stuff, people, when they have the contests, you got to remember, they're doing it because they want to do it, not because they have to. It's not mandatory to be part of this community. You have to have a contest if you hit 100 subs or 200 subs or whatever, or just because you want to do it. So anyone watching this anew, you got to really be respectful of stuff, and you screw around like that. Like I said, and the people just won't do it anymore. Then you're gonna be like, oh, like some stuff with me, like with trading. I'm not against trading. I'm totally not against trading. It's just that I don't want to trade with anybody right now until I actually get a more of a permanent situation than where I am now. Like this whole thing. Going to be leaving down the line. I'm hoping the way things are going, it's going good. And I'd rather do a trade video and just show everything I'm going to trade all in one shot and know that it's coming to me, because a lot of times when I get stuff here, it gets sent back because somebody will in the upstairs area will be like, oh, I didn't know it was yours, and then I wind up getting screwed, and I have to pay, or somebody has to pay extra shipping to send it back, and so it's a nightmare. That's the real reason why I haven't done any trade videos, is because for right now, it's just complicated, with my situation here. But when I get things all together, and like I said, if things work the way they're going, by the end of the summer, I'll be all set up. I'll be ready. It won't matter, and I'll do a trade video on the stuff I'm willing to trade. But again, it kind of leads into the whole thing. Like, you'll get people that watch the video, and it's perfectly fine. Like, I don't mind people asking me, like, oh, are you willing to trade that? Are you willing to sell that one? Stuff like that. Like, I don't mind. But it does get to be a little much, like, where it's like, oh, that's an awesome issue. Can I have it? Or, that's a cool issue. Can I have it? The way I see it, you can ask what you want. Like, I've definitely put in videos where videos, comments. I'm just saying, like, all right, this is what's going on. But with me personally, my own channel, my own YouTube thing, if it doesn't have the word trade on the top of the video or something like that, it's not happening. So that might help a little bit. Moving on. Like I said, lots to talk about. Gary, Mungo Stumptime 07, I was watching your video, and it really does suck about that whole job thing, man. That's a bunch of BS. I think they do that shit on purpose, just to kind of weed people out. So they can be like, oh, well, we gave people a shot, but, so they don't have to hire people, But that, they really should have mentioned that, like, the beginning of the whole thing, like, oh, if you're having, if you don't see this way, you can adjust it. That's total BS, man. That really is, and I'm sorry that happened. And I mentioned a comment, something similar happened to me in a way. Well, not almost, I guess, kind of like a BS kind of move. I was applying for the post office. This is a couple years ago. I was like, you know what, it's actually, it's sad to say, well, maybe it's sad to say, but when I was in high school, that was like my fallback job. And like, when they ask you, like, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? And my main thing was be an actor, accomplish that, get it done, which just never seemed to happen because it's harder than it looks. It really is. And it's all really, a lot of it's luck. It really doesn't have to do with talent. A lot of things, it's all who you know, not what you know. But my fallback job, if I couldn't become an actor, was postal worker, mailman, whatever, mail carrier, whatever you want to call them. Because I don't mind walking, I don't mind the weather. And I just thought it was a cool job. It was fun, And I decided, I'm like, you know what, the hell with it, I'm going to go give it a shot. Went to the post office, got through all their written tests, no big deal. But it's the same thing, like, it was steps. Like, you had to do, like, the first test was a background check, which my background was fine. I haven't killed anybody lately. And they're like, oh, you passed, you're good, move on to the next one, which was a written test. And it was funny, because, like, the first written test I took, it was all math. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to totally screw up. I was like, I suck at math. And I'm sitting there, and, like, you had, like, 30 minutes to complete this, like, 400-page friggin', thing. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, my God. Like, my head felt like it was going to explode. And I wound up passing the damn thing. I'm like, that's impressive. I was shocked. I'm like, wow, I passed. Barely, but I passed. Then the second test was a written test, which was common sense stuff. Like, half of it was about driving, because obviously you're going to be driving the truck. And the other half was almost like a Where's Waldo kind of thing. Like, oh, can you spot, the difference in this number? Can you spot the difference in this house? It was weird. Past that thing, I'm like, all right, cool. The third part was a map. You had to be able to read a map. And I'm like, that ain't bad, no big deal. Now, here's what's funny. The map questions it was a Scantron. You got to color it in. Now, what happened is, I didn't really even notice it until I was getting, through it. And I probably should have said something, but I didn't. So it's kind of my fault in the way, too, I guess. I'm looking at this map, and it's on this screen, like those overhead projectors that they used to have, like, in high school. And I'm looking at this thing, and they give you a little Scantron thing, and they're asking you all these questions. This is this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm filling them in. And when I got down to one of the numbers, whatever Scantron they gave me, it must have been, like, maybe a used one. because I think it was like number 10. It looked like somebody scribbled in an answer but then erased it, and it looked pretty good. So I'm like, I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, all right, I don't know what the hell that is, but I filled in the answer, and you had to have a perfect score on the map thing. I guess that was a big deal. Wound up bringing the test up. A couple days later, they called me in and said I didn't pass. I said, really? I was like, how did I pass? They're like, oh, well, you put in two answers on this, and I'm looking at them like, well, the right answer is A. I'm like, yeah, the right answer is A, but you also scribbled in C. And I'm like, I didn't scribble in C. And like, well, you erased it. I'm like, no. I was like, that was actually on the test. Sure, it was. So I got screwed out of that. After all that work with that, I got screwed out of the job because somebody else or gave me whatever, and I didn't mention anything. So either way, and then of course like the same kind of BS, like you can't apply for the job for another year or some crap like that, and it's a bitch. It really was a bitch, and I'm like, what the hell with it. But maybe when I move, that's the other thing I'm thinking about doing. I might try to do for the post office down there where I move. We'll see. We'll see. But Gary, I wish you the best of luck, my friend. I know you want to get a dog and a new place, and best of luck to you, man. It's everything's doable if you work at it, I guess is the way to go. And you got the right attitude, man. You can't let it discourage you. You're just like, happens, which is the way to be. Because if you dwell on stuff, it's not doing anybody any good, especially yourself, man. Like I've sat there on certain things like that happened to me, and I'm like, when, Lord, when's it gonna be my time, and I would dwell on things that have happened, and I'm just like, what, it's just pissing me off, and it's draining me, and I'm like, it's not worth it. What the hell am I doing? And then I just kind of snap out of it. I'm like, screw it. I was like, it didn't work out. Let's move on, and you're better off. Things happen for a reason. I'm a very big believer in that whole thing. Is that things happen. Some things you can make happen. If you, like I said, if you work at it, you can switch it around. Like me, I've been kind of one thing I've been mentioning. I've been very lazy. I'm like, I'm getting lazy. I'm getting, it's getting out of hand. So once I'm feeling better, I've already talked to a couple people. I'm gonna actually start training again, at least for a limited time while I'm here with the people that my old ninjutsu class. I had called up my teacher, who was basically like an old friend, and I said, this is what's going on. I really kind of need to get back into it. Health wise, I was like, I gained a lot of weight, and I was like, it's just getting worse and worse, and I'm getting lazier and lazier. And if anyone can kick my ass into shape, it's going to be you, man. My willpower is dwindling on certain things. I'm like, I really got to get myself back together the way I was. And he's like, yeah, no problem, man. And I said, well, right now I'm not feeling all that well. He's like, the second you feel better, you get your ass into this dojo, and we're going to work on it. So the second I feel a little less congested and a little less dizzy and sick, I'm starting up my martial arts again. As much, it's hard because like I didn't want to do it because of injuries, and I had mentioned it to my shidoshi, or teacher in Japanese, as you want to go for it. I said, this is what's going on. I was like, this is all the damage that's been done. And he's like, you know what? He's like, we're just going to have to work out slower. He's like, we're just going to have to start slow and build you up, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm determined. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna get back into it. I'm not gonna go back in to compete. That's for damn sure. I'm not doing that anymore. It's just for my own personal stuff. I want to get myself back into shape. I want to get myself, more active. I've gotten lazy, flat out, and I've noticed it. Like I look around the place, I'm like, I don't want to do that today. It's just getting bad, so it's got to change. And while pretty much everybody, the martial art dojos I've gone to, I'm really not going to be paying a lot, so it's kind of cool. Like a lot of places you go to, it's like $300, for a month or something like that. Me, I'm only paying like $50, which is pretty cool because I've known them for so long, and I've gone so long with martial arts and gotten so far in certain things that I barter a little bit, $50, here and there. I help clean out the dojo, stuff like that, which is good training too. Works out the muscles. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Might actually film a few things. I already told him, I was like, I do this show called Cracka, and he laughed. He's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's mostly comics, and I've been slacking with that. I haven't been doing movie reviews like I wanted to. I haven't been doing like a lot of things. I've just basically been focused on comics lately. And I said, you know what, I might want to show another part of my life that for so long was such a huge part, from when I was 4 to when I was 21. Nothing but martial arts on top of, well, obviously comics like that, but martial arts just through the years. And he was cool with it. He's like, hey, you know what? As long as you don't show any of my ninja secrets, we're all good. So stay tuned for that. And this is a long ass video, so I'm going to stop it now. Um, if you like what you see, please hit the like button, comment away. Like I said, I enjoy reading everyone's comments. Uh, if you really like what you see, subscribe. It's always nice to have new subscribers, new stuff to look at too. Check out your channels. And it's not the size of your man cave that matters, it's what you have in it. Later.